FBI has now turned over to the Trump Justice Department the actual names of all the agents who worked on January 6 cases. The Justice Department has agreed to not make the names public, but just temporarily. I don't know, Andrew Weissman and Mary McCord.
So Mary, sitting aside the whiny little baby president who's got to find retribution against his, former president because, he was criming at the time and got caught. Talk us through this this ability to get the names of the FBI agents and what that looks like. How much can these agents who were involved in January 6th kind of count on this 48-hour window that they've got, and what can they do? Where can they go? What can they expect from this? I mean, the fact that they're even exposed right now, to me, is just so galling for all you law and order Republicans out there. Back the blue. Okay.
So, there is a court order now, right, about not disclosing these names, and that was pursuant to an agreement between the Department of Justice and the plaintiffs in this case, the group of FBI agents, the FBI Agents Association. But it is now in the hands of the Department of Justice. And if I were them, I would be worried about leaks of that list, because we've seen already in these first 3 weeks various things that have been leaked out, some very intentionally. I would also be worried about, that notice, what's going to happen if they do say they want to make this public, and, what's going to happen then. So you can't count on the fact that your name would stay protected. And also, they're worried about what action is going to be taken against them. Remember, the whole reason to ever get this list of names of anybody, not just agents, but analysts, employees, anyone who did any work at all on the January 6th case is explicitly, according to the directives of the Department of Justice, to consider whether personnel actions should be taken against these agents. So that means potentially firing them, right? So they have a lot of things to have to be concerned about. One is this exposure and targeting that could lead to physical violence, but another is their jobs. And some may have done only minimal work on the case. They get leads out to all the different field offices that they have to run down, and that could be the only thing that anybody ever did.
Andrew, I know you wanted to build upon what Mary is saying vis-a-vis the FBI, so please do that. But I also wanted you to detail for us what Pam Bondi is up to at DOJ.
Sure. So I'm going to channel my inner Michael Steele, which is, on what planet is it? Is there any justification for making the names of these people public? I mean, the idea there's, don't worry, there's a 48-hour window. Great, that's better than nothing. But there's no legitimate reason to ever make these names public. I mean, the idea that the Department of Justice went in there and said, okay, well, we'll agree to a 48-hour period. If I were the judge, I'd be like, I'm sorry, what about never? I mean, the idea that this is what's going on. There's a list of people who did their job. And we all saw the January 6th events unfold in front of our eyes. It would have been a dereliction of duty to not do something. The Department of Justice's view is not only should the criminals be pardoned, but the people who investigated should be under investigation for doing their job. I mean, it is insane.
Upside down.
Yes, upside down is the polite term. And so Pam Bondi, something that's gone completely under the radar is something that is lawful, but just insane policy. And that is, she is completely, I mean, let's start with big picture, making the world safe for Russia and China and other foreign adversaries to interfere in our election, have paid for millions of dollars for foreign lobbyists to do things here without any disclosure. All of to impose sort of criminal penalties on sanctions. All of this has been eradicated with a stroke of a pen. She has taken away the kleptocracy unit. That is the group that looked at criminal sanctions if you violate Russian sanctions. So sanctions are really important for the United States. No criminal penalties that are going to be imposed. The election interference group, disbanded. I mean, just so many different components that I read this and I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is basically saying all of those things and steps that we took to prevent our foreign adversaries from affecting what's happening here in this country. This is supposed to be, about America first. No, this is Russia first. I mean, it's unbelievable how many policies she has completely eradicated, and that has gone a little bit under the radar screen because it is lawful, just in really dangerous policy.
The point that I think that this is a very important distinction. There are many things that are happening in this administration that are, in fact, lawful. There are also a lot of unlawful things going on. But the lawful things, again, it's about things that are there. What Pam Bondi is doing is within her purview. It is just, in my opinion, and I think it Andrews and everyone's here, dangerous for the United States. What about the people, the FBI agents, their union got together and they sued. And I would argue that there are potentially more suits coming. They're going to aggressively protect those agents. The labor unions have gotten together and brought suit. They were unsuccessful in the most recent suit they brought in terms of the labor statistics. Basically, the judge said that they didn't have standing, even though they were concerned. That the judges may be concerned, but these groups don't have standing. But what about the people who don't necessarily have someone suing for them on their behalf? I'm thinking about the folks on the DEI watch list that's been publicized. This is people's personal information. Their addresses are out there. I know many of the people on this list. They said that things have been sent to their home. They feel scared and intimidated, and they don't know what to do. So who is protecting some of these other government workers? What advice do you both have for those folks who they're looking for recourse? They're unsure about what to do.
Well, I can just say, I mean, there are a number of groups that are, litigating faster than I've ever seen in my life as a lawyer, and I'm not going to say how many decades that's been, but my organization is going to be filing another case next week, and we're really small. Some have been filing almost every day. They're really trying to look into all of these different things and bring the legal cases that they can bring. And what's happening is terrible when it comes to this exposure for all the reasons that Andrew's been talking about that just outs you and targets you, particularly the way they are talked about, the way DEI is talked about as this evil, right? That is, the verbiage is so important here, right? Because you can wipe out a program, and you could do that quietly, or you can wipe out programs and do it noisily and with disparaging comments. And I want to add one other thing we haven't talked about yet, because I think it also fits in with our national security as some of the issues that Andrew highlighted. This attempt to dismantle USAID, right? USAID obviously provides humanitarian assistance around the world, food, healthcare, et cetera. But it also is like our ambassadors of goodwill, so that when our military needs to go in for some reason, or when we need that country's help, or the people of that country's help, it has helped to establish the U.S. as a place that they want to help, right? And they want to protect, and they want to work with our, with our intelligence agents and our military, et cetera. And so removing that is not just removing aid, which is a huge issue, people dying because of this aid that they're not getting. It is also really damaging our standing in the world. And there are other countries that want to step right into that mix and take that place and get that goodwill.
China's sitting there ready to go.
China is waiting with bated breath, honey.
Yep.
You can catch more of Mary and Andrew on their podcast, Main Justice. In the latest episode, they use their backgrounds at the FBI and DOJ to examine the Trump administration's firings at the department. This is a must listen. Go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen, and you can listen today after our show is over. And be sure to follow our show on social media. Our handle everywhere is @TheWeekend, Msnbc.